The House and Senate Intelligence Committees held open hearings on the 2025 annual threat assessment, examining an array of foreign and domestic challenges. However, some Democrat members focused instead on the recent Signal chat leak, spending much of their allotted time on that issue rather than the threats outlined in the report. Well, joining us now to take a look at those threats is Congressman LaHood, who serves on 3 House committees, including the Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. He represents Illinois' 16th Congressional District. Congressman LaHood, welcome to This Week on Capitol Hill. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Tony.
Look, I know the Democrats want to talk about other things. I want to talk about the threats, and I think Americans want to know what's happening out there, what's been happening over the last 4 years when we've had kind of weak leadership at the wheel here in the United States. Tell us what those threats are.
Well, Tony, we did have our worldwide threats hearing this week, and it's the one time where the 5 principals in the intelligence community come in an open hearing, not in a closed hearing, and talk about the threat from our adversaries. And I thought particularly Director Ratcliffe, President Trump's director at the CIA, did a remarkable job in talking about those threats, particularly from China, from Iran, from North Korea, and articulated why we need to be vigilant, why we need a strong national defense. And if you look at what President Trump has talked about when he ran for office and when he got elected again this time, is peace through strength. And I think you're going to see that from this administration. That was on full display this week, listening to Director Ratcliffe, Director Patel at FBI, and also our new DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, along with folks from the NSA and DIA also. But it was a wake-up call that we need to be focused, particularly after the weak Biden administration over the last 4 years, and that was on full display this week.
Now, you're not new to the committee, but you are new to getting a briefing from the Trump top intel people. Was there a different analysis, a different view as you got this information for the first time from the Trump administration?
I would say there was a lot more transparency, particularly from Director Ratcliffe and Director Patel, a lot more openness and getting into details on what we need to do. Also, a recognition that, again, we need to be forceful in terms of our actions. And when we say something, we have to back that up. I think particularly Director Ratcliffe, in talking about the threat from China, he said it well. China has a plan to replace the United States, and they're working at it every single day. And we need to wake up to that fact and be vigilant when it comes to technology, particularly in the cyberspace, our national security in the Indo-Pacific region, and also talking about the espionage that China continues to engage in. That was articulated very well, much different than what we had seen in the past from the Biden administration.
Now, there are a multitude of threats that are out there. You've listed some of them, but if you were to put a hierarchy of threats based upon the information now that is coming forth from the more transparent administration, what concerns you most?
Well, I think China's number one, as I mentioned, and that was articulated by Director Ratcliffe and Director Patel. But I would also say the malign activities of the regime in Iran cannot be negated. Look at, particularly, we talked extensively about this, the malign activities of the Iranian regime throughout the Middle East, supporting the Houthis in Yemen, supporting Hamas in Gaza, what they did with Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. Luckily, the IDF and the Mossad have come in to dismantle much of Hezbollah, but also the Shia proxies in Iraq. The maximum pressure campaign that you're going to see the Trump administration engage in to, again, send the strongest possible message that type of state-sponsored terrorism that has come out of Iran will not be tolerated as it was, I would argue, during the Biden administration. We looked weak. Iran took advantage of that. I think it'll be a much different approach by the Trump administration, particularly with the team that was before us this week, and that message was sent loud and clear.
Speaking of Iran and their multiple proxies in the Middle East, will it require the incapacitation of them in terms of their nuclear program in order to bring stability or a form of stability to the Middle East?
Well, I think everything has to be on the table. I'll leave it to our experts in the intelligence community to make those decisions, and the National Security Council on what needs to be done to do that. But make no mistake about it, Tony, Iran cannot be trusted. They can't be trusted with nuclear weapons. They have violated every international norm. They have violated every treaty that they've been involved with. And until there's a rebuilding of trust, which I'm not even sure could happen with the current mullahs that run Iran, I think we have to be very, very skeptical of that.
Congressman LaHood, we just have about a minute and a half left. Let's talk about this hemisphere. What are your concerns about those things that may even be in our own neighborhood?
Well, sure. Chairman Crawford, our chairman of the Intelligence Committee, talked a lot about the Belt and Road Initiative that the CCP, the Communist Chinese Party, has engaged in much of Central and South America. Their inroads there to Brazil and Argentina, that was on full display this week, that China continues to try to influence those countries with bribing them, paying them off, and engaging in the surveillance state technology that they continue to peddle to a number of those countries. Again, we heard that we have to work with our like-minded allies in that region in particular, and we need to push back on what the Chinese are doing there. Part of it is economic, but part of it is a strategic realliance that China wants to, be engaged in the Southern Hemisphere. And so we heard commitments from Director Patel and from Director Ratcliffe that this is on their radar screen and something that they'll definitely push back on.
Congressman LaHood, I want to thank you for joining us. It is a dangerous world, and to be safe, we've got to be strong, and I appreciate you leaning into that.
Thank you, Tony.